Alright, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I, of course, am John, the creative blue-collar guy. And today, we're going to be talking about Tool. I know a lot of the last few videos I've been doing have been either Coheed and Cambria or Tool, but those are definitely two favorites of mine. So this is something that came up just recently. Let me click on over here real quick. This is an article that just came out recently from Revolver. But it was an interview with guitarist Adam Jones talking about their album Lateralus, or however you want to pronounce it, that came out about 21 years ago, which is really strange to say because I can remember when that album came out. I remember when it was new. I was in high school at the time. I can even remember specifically where I went to buy it. But over here we've got what Adam called the curse of Tool. And I'm not going to read the entire article because it's pretty long. I'll link it in the description of this video so you can go check it out for yourself later on. But Adam Jones looks back on pivotal album Lateralus, released in 2001. Magnum opus was a crucial turning point for the prog metal titans. So like I said, it's a pretty lengthy article. I just wanted to kind of dig into a couple of interesting paragraphs here, try to keep this one pretty short. And then, like I said, I'll put the link to this article in the description here so you can go read the entire thing for yourself if you so desire. I thought it was a pretty interesting interview, and just kind of looking back on just the album 20 plus years later, some inner workings and drama that went on with the band, but how they work together better now. Because they've hashed it out. Me, myself, being a musician, having been in bands before, I understand those struggles of having the awkward conversations, the awkward confrontations, these kind of explosions in the band room. But afterwards, you understand each other a little bit better. You understand how to work together better. So first and foremost, the thing that everyone always points out, and I've had other friends of mine tease me and then even tease Tool fans just in general, not necessarily directed at me, about anytime a Tool fan talks about the album Lateralus, or more specifically the title track, the song from the album, every time, oh, did you know that the song centers around the Fibonacci Sequence? And it's something that we all talk about. And I'm guilty of it too, because when I first discovered it, when it was first pointed out to me, I thought it was pretty cool. But for those of you who don't know, the Fibonacci sequence here in this paragraph says he's referring specifically to the Fibonacci sequence, a mathematical pattern in which each number is the sum of the previous two. Examples here go 0, 1, 1, 2, 3. So in this case, that you start with 0, then you go to 1, 1 plus 0, you still get 1, but then you go 1 plus 1, you get 2, so each time you're adding the current number and the previous number. So then you go 2 plus 1 equals 3, 3 plus 2 equals 5, so on and so forth. And it will count up to a certain increment and then count back down in the same way. It's closely linked to what's known as the golden ratio. The sequence frequently occurs in nature, like with seashells, flower petals, etc. It also inspired many brilliant works of art, including inadvertently the song Lateralus, a fact that has intrigued listeners endlessly in the years, now 2+ decades since. So let's see, just kind of skimming through here a little bit here. It says Justin, bass player for Tool, Justin Chancellor, brought in this amazing bass riff. He said the first part is in 9, so he's talking about time signatures, meaning 9 beats per measure. He said the first part is in 9, the second part is in 8, the last part is in 7. Danny Carey, drummer, has a big influence on us with his vast knowledge, and I can speak to that too. One of the last bands I was in that actually played original music, we were kind of the same way. A lot of us, we all spoke a different language when it came to how we communicated musically, but our drummer Carey, who I've had on the channel before, He did drumline in high school. He knew sheet music. He knew music theory. He knew this kind of stuff inside and out way better than any of us in the band. So it's kind of interesting to see that is one of his biggest influences. Danny Carey here is also that person in Tool. Said he's a very analytical guy. He was into a lot of that sacred geometry stuff, which influenced us. He was sitting behind his kit, and I remember him going, 987 is a number of the Fibonacci sequence. That's really cool. He goes on to say it could have just been a trippy observation, but after the band's friend Ryan, a hotshot firefighter and, quote, amazing intellect, further outlined the sequence's history, then burrowed deep down the rabbit hole. We started writing, and since we're a very math-based band, we started exploring different themes in that. We told Maynard, the singer, Maynard James Keenan, and he went, oh my god, I'll write the lyrics to that. The singer ultimately built some of his phrases in a syllabic structure, climbing from the first to sixth numbers and back down again. So again, if you listen to the song in the verses, when Maynard is singing his lyrics, it starts with 1, then 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and it's the same thing. So even the number of syllables in each phrase climb up and down in line with this sequence. We'll kind of skim a little bit more here. Talks about when they came out with their EP Opiate in 92 and being just sort of a psychedelic prog rock metal band. Decades later coming out with Lateralus. Some of the interesting different things that went in to that. He says that Lateralus was a crucial crossroads for the band. We had a couple records under our belt, lots of touring, so practice makes perfect. By that time, we knew our limits. We knew what stuff we could push. We were a well-oiled machine, and we knew each other, and there were things we learned about each other on that record that are pivotal to this day. The most critical lesson, not everyone in the band operates at the same pace. Adam Jones, the guitarist who's doing this interview, Justin Chancellor, and Danny Carey are now notorious and or revered for their meticulous jamming, tweaking, and jettisoning, and reviving and rearranging ideas. Eventually, there was a turning point during that process, Jones says, a big confrontation that came out all at once. There are 4 different guys, 4 different cooks, he says. We're not throwing punches at each other, but we all have our opinions. We're brothers, and sometimes it's really hard to communicate. We have an open dialogue, at least I do, and sometimes it's hard to say things like, I'm frustrated with you, or I'm having a problem with this, or I hate your guts, he laughs. The little things you hate about your brother, you really hate the 12th time it happens. I think a lot of things bubbled up. I don't know, I almost wanted to cry about it. It was such a thing that needed to happen, and it happened, and it made everything else better. So this is where he starts kind of talking about those confrontations that they got into with the band and the arguments, which again I can definitely sympathize with, and definitely remember a lot of times in the band room, and yeah, it's not fun. So he talks about, I think most specifically he's talking about with the singer Maynard James Keenan, who he also has his band A Perfect Circle. He also has Pustifer, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, in addition to also having a winery that has multiple locations and tasting rooms, and one of which I think is even a restaurant. So I mean, he's a busy guy. He's always working, he's always hustling, he's always grinding. And these guys, Adam Jones, Justin Chancellor, and Danny Carey, are they're a bit more meticulous. I think Justin and Danny do have side projects. I think they have other bands going on, but for the most part, they still, when they write music for Tool, there's a lot of reasons why this album took 13 years. It didn't take 13 years to write. Other stuff happened. I'm not going to necessarily get into all the deep, dark details of that. But they are known for, they're not going to crank out an album just to put it out and satisfy a record label or the fans. They put it out when it's ready. They put it out when they think it's their best work that they've put out at that point in time. They're not putting out radio hits. They're not putting out catchy singles. They say, we're making music that we like. We're making music that we want to hear. We're making music that we appreciate and are proud of, and we're not going to put it out a second too soon. Maynard works a little faster than that, so they just had to learn how to communicate with that. So this paragraph here, he says, that's the beautiful thing. that it's like popping a big zit. Once it came out, it healed. Now it's better than it's ever been. Basically, what we learned, especially with Maynard and I, is that everyone has their own way of working. That's what came out of that. To have that respect for each other about our process, Maynard's like, quote, I can't handle you writing and then changing stuff when I'm trying to write lyrics. So let me know when you're done, and then I'll do what I do. End quote. And it's great, Adam says. It really works. Sometimes it's just frustrating because you think he's going to sing here and not here, but he does the opposite. But that's the beauty of it. Because of that, it's a blessing in disguise where it really fine-tunes the music to hold up on its own. When we write, we have no idea where he's going to sing. So the song almost works as its own instrumental. This goes on to say, even after Tool cleared the air, there were other distractions and digressions to be navigated. Some were hugely frustrating, like the lawsuit. Okay, so actually this is some of the stuff that delayed the album. The lawsuit with band's then label Volcano Entertainment filed against them, citing a wrongful attempt at abandoning their contract. Others were healthy and even productive, such as Keenan launching the band A Perfect Circle with roommate and former Tool guitar tech Billy Howardell and releasing their debut album in 2000. And so he kind of goes on to talk a little bit more about that, about the guys doing their different side projects, getting out that creative itch or that creative outlet in other ways that they might not be getting it from Tool. So this is actually kind of a funny one too. I remember this, and I think they even did this later with their album 10,000 Days that came out in 2006. But they're getting to a point of having sort of this mystery that surrounded the band, and people were always chomping at the bit for their new music and trying to get an edge on them. So they intentionally put out a fake album with fake titles, fake album title, fake artwork, fake song titles. This same description applies to Lateralus. Epics and segues alike, there isn't a wasted second. While it's natural to focus on the record's proggy intellectual qualities, Tool, the same band that once created a hilarious fake bio to weed out lazy journalists, again showed their mischievous side in the pre-release rollout, teasing a fake album title, Systema Encephale. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm probably way off on that because there's some accent marks there. And song names like Mummery, Lactation, and River Christ on their website. Adam goes on to say, Maynard is very funny. I had always thought he'd either be a stand-up comic or an actor if he wasn't in a band. Some of that stuff is just because you're good friends and you have these inside jokes that keep coming up, but there was another reason. I think it was Lateralus, where someone bought the domain name of the record title and tried to copyright all the song names. Real sleazy stuff. He started selling t-shirts, so we put out a press release where everything was fake. We had 10 tracks, they were all fake. Sure enough, someone bought the domain, someone put out the fake name t-shirts. We had the last laugh on that. What a hilarious image. Someone out there may still be rocking a River Christ tee. So the album Lateralus was released on May 15th, 2001 with its 13 properly titled tracks. Lateralus proved to be the commercial and critical gain of, I believe it's pronounced Anima. I've been listening to that album for probably over half my life, and I don't even know if Anima is the proper pronunciation, but it was no fluke. The new LP peaked atop the Billboard 200 with Schism taking home the Grammy for Best Metal Performance. And then he actually kind of goes on to talk a little bit about the album and the tour happening around 9/11, because obviously the album came out in May of 2001. We all know what happened in September of 2001, and just kind of some stuff there of trying to navigate what was going on in the country, being able to tour but being sensitive to the situation. So anyways, real interesting read here, but I thought it was really interesting at talking about just how they write and them being perfectionists and the way that they do everything. That his quote that's in the headline, calling it the curse of Tool, and then just looking back on that pivotal album. So what do you guys think about this? What's your favorite Tool album? Are you aware of Tool? Are you aware of Lateralus? Are you aware of the Fibonacci sequence that was used in that song? And if you're not, are you going to go look it up, and are you going to be interested by it? Sound off in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about this. Throw a thumbs up on this video. And if you are new here, thank you so much for watching this far through. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future videos. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for being here and your support. And I will see you in the next video. Cheers.